Hello, everybody. This is Lori Hodges. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for Larimer County, and I'm here today with Ricardo. Want to introduce yourself, Ricardo?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ricardo Perez, and I'm the Communications and Community Engagement Coordinator for the Office of Emergency Management.
All right. Well, we are here today to do the very first of our Emergency Preparedness 101 topics. These are quick 5-10-minute topics for you on disaster preparedness. Today, we're going to be talking specifically about finance and insurance. So let's get to it. So we have here 3 steps to financial preparedness. If you do these 3 things, you're going to be well on your way for financial preparedness. The very first thing is how are you going to collect your critical information? When I talk about critical information, what I'm talking about is your birth record, your mortgage or your rental agreement, any kind of financial accounts, your taxes, your insurance documents, anything that is going to be an identifying feature for you that's going to help you to be able to move through the disaster process, and then anything that's going to help you financially. So you want to have a way to collect that both. You want to be able to store it, and you also want ease of use. So if you have to evacuate or shelter in place, you want to be able to get this information quickly. So either have stuff in a fireproof safe, keep it on your computer, keep it in the cloud somewhere. So store it in a way to where you can easily access it when you need it most. So number 1 is how you are going to collect your critical information and how you're going to get access to it.
It is also important to make sure that you have just a small amount of cash available, and make sure that when systems go down due to an emergency or an event, you do have a small amount of cash available as things may be happening, but you should be able to work ideally towards a small amount, potentially $1,000 down the road. So yeah, that might be helpful.
All right. And then number 3 is obtaining insurance. If you don't already have both medical and property insurance, you will want to try to get those as soon as you can, if possible. We're going to get into insurance a little bit more in the next slide, but it is really important first to just obtain that property insurance or obtain that medical insurance if you have it, to best protect yourself and your family. All right, I'm going to move our faces off the screen. All right, the top 3 insurance tips. So the number 1 tip is knowing what your policy coverage is. A lot of people really don't understand what their policy coverage is for emergencies and disasters. So for one, know what your policy coverage is and know if you have enough for rebuilding your home. As we all know, the cost of building has been going up substantially lately. So just checking in with your insurance company about once a year, making sure that your policy coverage is adequate to rebuild your structure. That is number 1. The second thing is knowing if you have insurance for additional living expenses. A lot of times it takes 1 to 2 years at a minimum to rebuild a home if you have damage or destruction from a disaster. So you're going to want to make sure that you have additional living expense coverage for up to 24 months. Then the third thing is, do you know if you have flood insurance or what would be covered in your insurance for flooding? A good rule of thumb here is once a storm or rain touches the ground, so a water source, once it hits that ground, it is considered flood water and is not typically covered under your traditional insurance. That's where you would need flood insurance. An example of this is when you have a big rainstorm, 1 to 2 inches of rain, and your basement floods. This is typically not covered by regular insurance. So if you don't have flood insurance, you could be on the hook for any damages there. However, if rain hits your roof and you have a hole in your roof or some damage to your roof and it leaks in there, then some standard insurance companies are going to pay for that because that isn't coming from the ground, it's coming from up on your roof. So those are some quick tips for insurance coverage. Make sure you purchase enough coverage to rebuild your home. Try to get additional living expenses for 24 months, and then also look into flood insurance. Even if you're not in a high hazard flood area, a lot of times the flooding that we have here in Larimer County is due to high intensity rains in areas that aren't near a river. So you might want to get some flood insurance.
And then our second tip for making sure that you have kind of what is needed for the insurance is making sure that you have a home inventory of your valuables and your property. Sometimes it's helpful to make sure that you conduct a little short video and then kind of detailing the objects within your home and making sure to have a list of the value also of any kind of high value objects or items with serial numbers that sometimes also help with kind of appraisals and things of that sort. So, and then additionally, sometimes the insurance companies have the opportunity to include some of these item lists or appraisals on their applications or their websites. So it'd be good to also check their kind of mobile options for storing some of these lists.
There's also some apps out there for the contents of your home that you can do. So either do an app or have a list of your high value items, or like Ricardo said, just go from the very front door with a video camera on, describe everything in your house as you pass it. And that's one way to account for your contents.
And thirdly, it's also important to make sure that you have access to documents. So anything that can be also useful in gathering your insurance or any important documents, it's also important to make sure that you have them stored in a safe spot at home, or also online on websites or with their insurance opportunity.
All right, so we told you this was going to be quick, so that is it. Your top 3 things for financial is how to gather and keep your financial documents or your key critical information documents, keeping a small amount of savings in your home, and then trying to build up to a savings account of about $1,000. 3, obtain property insurance and medical insurance if you don't already have it. And then for insurance, your top 3 are: 1, know what's in your standard policy and know if you need to get additional insurance coverage. That additional living expenses is important for 24 months. Have a home inventory. So make sure that you're keeping an inventory of what's within your home, the contents of your home, because that is also insurable. But people have a hard time with that after disaster, trying to do that inventory. And then finally, 3, just make sure that you can access all your documents either remotely, safe deposit box, or wherever else for both insurance and finances. Anything else, Ricardo?
That's it.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.